Every month or so, I talk about this game called Monster Legends, which is an addicting shovelware mobile game that has an actual competitive bias. I talked specifically about ancestors, as they are currently the kings of the meta. You look at the Monster Legends competitive wiki, they're all in OP tier. But for me, one has yet to be talked about, and that is tier Stormbringer. Each ancestor has a niche they carry. Griffania has broken damage output. Dean is a rainbow denier, which it means every denial in one monster. And Robert came back with Megaton after I talked about him. So, what does Tier Stormbringer have? Well, Pierce. And that's pretty much it. Tier Stormbringer is a Pierce attacker who uses tortures to deal damage, despite only having 3 tortures in its move pool, which is really bad for a monster that relies on tortures. Not to mention his torture selection is mid at best. Nanovirus can come in clutch. Electrify can be dangerous for monsters like Citrus Spirit, in which you rarely see in PvP, let's be honest. And Shock, while good for slowing down Voltaic and Shadow Yana, has awful damage output. Actually, the lowest in the game. His relics are Sword and Banner, which are decent for his case. Sword relics like Elvira's Sword, Summit Folk Sword, and Shrimpwater Sword can actually help him apply more damage thanks to the tortures they provide. Repentance for Elvira's, Frosted for Summit Folk, and Sunburn for Shrimpwaters. And also, since his stamina costs are high, use Supreme Sword to help with that since he barely has any control immunity. Banner relics like Flesharion's Banner can also help him out a little. And if you don't run him with Shock, you can run him with that, but if you do, use Summit Folk Banner for Frosted instead. In terms of allies, of course Hysteric Easter gets to mention. He is literally Tier's best ally. Not only can he hold Volcanics as traps so he can spread more tortures, but he can also help duplicate them. And just like Tier, you can slap on Elvira's Sword, Summit Folk Sword, or Shrimpwater Sword, so Tier hits for more damage if you are using Supreme Sword on him. And his amounts of tortures and combined with Tier's Torture Explosion can make you go, now that's a lot of damage! Snowgross also helps out a lot. Being in Summit Folk with Tier when you are most likely using Summit Folk Sword and or Summit Folk Banner on him makes Snowgross a great ally. He also has Megaton and access to 7 Sins, which is like Volcanics' trap, but more dangerous to your opponent since it adds more torture to your opposing lineup, along with Nightmares and Drown coming your way as well. And yes, he can hold Volcanics' trap and even Shadow Yina's essence, which gives him 1 more torture in bleeding. And of course, how can I forget Fatal Harold? He also has random tortures, and like Snowgross, is a Summit Folk monster for Tier's use of Summit Folk Sword and Banner. And now he also has Merc's Staff, which applies Nightmares, and Summit Folk's Staff, which applies Curse. So he with Snowgross can actually help out Tier in spreading tortures, especially since Curse is a dangerous torture. He also spread negative effects protective a lot, so no more Catholicon for Uriel users. If you just got Tier, I really hope my tips help, and yes, Caloric Rage Skin is next on my list.